Welcome back to the Marketing MadMen on Extra 106.3. Nick Constantino here with Lauren Andrews, the founder of EVSO. All right, let's talk EVSO a little bit. Let's talk about, so we talked about you took the leap. We've kind of built up all of the different experiences and all the oh crap moments that made you realize what people do wrong so you can help give them the guidance to do right. So talk a little bit about when somebody would need your services / should need your services / actually calls for your services, because I imagine those are three very different things.
Yes, I feel like I need to break that up. But, from a standpoint of many people don't even know a company like mine exists. So they think they call a hotel, they book the dates, and the food and beverage shows up and the audiovisual shows up, and oh my gosh, I have a great meeting in place.
Who's getting you back from the airport? Who's making sure that you go to the offsite events and get to, there's so many parts. So that's just off the top of my head.
Yes. So that's, I think, the starting point is the minute you start thinking about an event and you think, what city am I going to host? How much is it going to cost? What like you were just saying in terms of arrival, where are people coming in from? Is it easy to get in there? There's all kinds of questions you got to think of from a site selection standpoint that many people don't. Because yeah, you want to host in Miami in January. That sounds great, but your budget's $150. But you want a 5-star hotel. That is not going to happen. So, I'm here to really brainstorm and have a 5 or 10 minute conversation that can help you lead down the right path. So for those site selection services specifically, that's where I shine. Like, I love negotiating. I love the relationships I have with over 200 national sales worldwide. And that's where I get to kind of shine. I was just telling a friend of mine this morning, I went down to Grand Cayman with a client this weekend at the Ritz Carlton, and while we were down there, I said, we should go see the Kimpton. And I know you had Caesar on here maybe a few weeks ago. Yeah. So shout out to IHG, because the Kimpton product, I said, let's just go over there and see it. And it was one of those, the client had never experienced something like that before. And now I was able to put 2 and 2 together and say, we're already going to be on the island. And now we have 2 strong proposals.
Well, I think that's a really good point, because one of the things I've come to realize is like what you see of a hotel here might not be representative of what it is internationally. Like, some people just have stronger presences internationally. Mm-hmm. Some places that you would think are expensive, I think until you start seeing what these things look like, it may be cheaper to go down internationally and show up in Cancun than it is to fly to freaking Utah. I mean, you have to open your eyes to those things and see those things to realize that. And I'm sure the experience you have has really helped point people in the right direction and open their eyes to things that they would have never thought of.
Or when somebody says, but that's crazy because I just got a great sleeping room rate. I was like, what was your food and beverage minimum? And do you know how much it's going to cost to do X, Y, Z? How much was that meeting room rental? And I just start adding it up and saying the grand package of it all may not be the best fit for your budget, or opposite. I worked at Ritz Carlton. There were times I was on site visits where a client would say, I know that I can't afford it, but I still want it. And I'd say, okay, let's become creative. Let's go sit down with chef. Let's do this. Let's do that. So I think I didn't realize that problem solving was one of the greatest strengths I had until I started my own company.
And I also tell you, once you get a reputation for being, can I say ball buster? We're saying it anyway. To being one, people negotiate with you differently. Mm-hmm. And they know that because, look, I'm not saying they're trying to put wool over your eyes, but you're right. Most people are like, oh, look, my room rate's cheaper. Okay, but what about the 30% that they charged on top of your gratuity that you weren't paying attention to? What about all these things? You have to see it all laid out. But I think if they know that you're meticulous and know for those things, they're a little bit more worried about getting to the bottom line, which speeds up the negotiation process.
So my previous company, we were the corporate meetings and incentives top 25 agency. So what that put us on the map for 16 years was this company knows what they're doing. Yeah. Okay. So from that standpoint, I also sit on customer advisory boards for first tier cities like San Francisco, Scottsdale, Dallas, Fort Worth area.
Destination cities.
Yes, destination cities. So in that mind, I'm well traveled. I work in a variety of market segments. So yes, when you get on the phone and you just pick up the phone and you have negotiations as opposed to hiding behind email, which we'll get into tips and tricks, or what I wish I had told people who were starting off in college, there's little things like that. It's a relationship business.
Yeah, and most things are. Okay, so screw everything I said previously. Let's do those tips now because I have some questions.
Okay.
Give us some tips. Some tips you would have told yourself, what you tell the people getting in the field. Let's do 2 minutes of that because I got some more fun questions after.
Okay, so thinking about coming from college and getting straight into it. So I'd say don't hide behind email. Okay, if you have to email back and forth more than 2 or 3 times, you should be picking up the phone. I think face-to-face negotiations, if you can do it, is absolutely the best.
My rule of thumb is face-to-face is best. Zoom is next best because at least you can see the person and see facial gestures and stuff like that. Next, you do it over the phone. If you have to do it with email, you're probably not getting the business anyway, so just stop.
All right. And then I'd say also what I'm really leaning into hard right now is AI.
Okay.
So for me, whether I'm working on a proposal or whether I'm responding to something that I feel like, oh, is this coming across the right way? Or even if it's brainstorming sessions, AI is
we
my
use it for
coworker.
the show, for everything. And I think once it learns your tone and voice and what you actually want out of it, it is a very powerful tool. But you got to start using it, and you got to understand what you want out of it. Like, write me a proposal for this client is going to fail every time. Here's my proposal from this client. Make this for this client. Might work a little bit better. Hey, how do I soften the tone so I'm not such an aggressive douchebag? It actually understands that.
Yes.
That it can do, which is crazy. What else you got?
So I'm just trying to think. Communications is everything. So whether that be making eye contact, a good firm handshake. I'm telling you right now, it's the best thing my dad taught me going into business. Good firm handshake. Whether it be written communications are important as well. Making sure this is the Ritz Carlton coming out in me. Exactly.
There's so much nuance to how you could reverse words to change tone. And most people actually, what they think is that they're not demanding enough. They're too passive aggressive to get the point out that they think they're getting, and they're not actually asking for anything. And you can't get a no if you're not asking. I train my salespeople all the time. A no is as good as a yes because it's better than a maybe. A maybe is the worst.
It drags it along.
It drags everything along. Company resources, everything.
Always prepare that your emails can be forwarded. So learn that one time the hard way in the sense of I sent something to an internal and then it got back to the client. And not that it wasn't anything the client didn't already know, but it was, if you don't want it to get back to somebody, don't put it in writing, pick up the phone and call.
And I'm always a big fan. I do believe call all the time, but always follow up a call with an email because people can forget calls. So the second touch point of, first of all, it gives you a second reason to remember. Two, just following up via email. And I know people don't say just following up, but all you're trying to do is make sure that person remembers, and now it's in writing that they agreed to it via, because it is very easy to be like, you didn't tell me that.
Every single one of my clients knows we could have a call, but if there's a major decision made on the call, I'm going to be sending a follow-up, or I'm going to say at the end of the call, if you could just shoot me that one sentence, then we'll be good. Because also you have how many conversations a day? That's
the lawyer, though. That's because you did hospitality law.
Yes,
our owner's a lawyer, and I would never be the person you think was negotiating contracts here. The amount of intellectual property contracts I've had to look over is insane. Yes. And what you learn from it is there are gotcha words in every contract, and when you find those gotcha words and you catch them, the lawyer's like, better look back here. All right, so we got that. So let's have some fun. Favorite 3 cities in America to host an event and why?
Nashville. Okay. I think just from a standpoint of...
But not enough hotels, right? Aren't there not enough hotels?
No, their pipeline is getting full. Good. So there's been a JW that's open. There's a Conrad that's open. There's a Four Seasons that's brand new there. I mean, they have definitely increased. Good. So yes, Nashville is one of the top cities. I love Scottsdale. I love being outside. Yeah. I just love the beauty of the nature there. You don't have to...
You got to prepare people, though, because 123 is a different kind of heat. Like 119, I lived in Vegas, 115 was hot. You get to Scottsdale, it's pushing on 120, 121. It's a different kind of heat. It's like stay inside. The concrete should be white. It's a different kind of heat.
Yep, I agree. I'd say San Diego, just getting on the water. Like, it's just such a beautiful city. The weather is perfect year-round. Yep. I'm going to go 4 cities. Sorry about that. Okay. Most people say Las Vegas, that they don't care to go back because they go there so much. But from an events perspective,
easy.
They have everything. And we have such great partners out there that it makes it... Las Vegas is always consistently one of my top cities.
They also forget how much is Las Vegas. For example, you go up to the Red Rock Casino overlooking the Red Rock Valley, and you have all the hills and the mountains in the background. Like, you can be in June. Mount Charleston has snow on it. Like, people don't think of just the topography of Vegas and how different it is to what most people have seen in their lives. So, all right. So before we end, favorite international city to do anything?
Oh, loaded. London, surprisingly, it wasn't going to be on the top of my list, but London was a big surprise for me, just in the sense of our attendees. Everything was different. What they wanted to do, what they wanted to experience, what the city could provide. London really kind of surprised me. If I was going smaller and more intimate, I'd say Grand Cayman just really surprised me this past weekend. Very international market. Finances are number one. Exactly.
Yeah,
so
a lot of
feel safe.
We don't want to say illegal bank accounts, but untraceable bank accounts. How does that sound? That's why people go down there. Let's call it what it is.
A friend of mine just told me when he went to open his bank account down there that when they said you need to have 150 to open it, he said not a problem. They were like, no, 150,000.
Oh, 1,000.
He was like, holy goodness.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been great. We breezed through it as usual. Lauren, I appreciate it. And for everyone out there, it's a crazy industry. If you think you're going to get in overnight, you're going to have to work your butt off. You're going to have to know the right people. You're going to have to be aggressive and assertive what you do. But it is a fun industry to be in. You've been listening to the Marketing MadMen on Extra 106.3, and we'll catch you next week.